this smuggle, that smuggle, and they say, okay, we're going to drop all these charges except for the racketeering. I go, no, why would I drop the charges?
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Becoming the King of Pot. My name's Todd Dankin, and with me, of course, is my criminal cousin, everybody's favorite criminal smuggler, Bruce Perlowin, the King of Pot. Bruce, how you doing today?
Good. I love it when you talk that way, Todd.
I know. You say that to all the cousins, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. We're going to talk today about you getting busted and going to jail. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It probably wasn't a lot of fun while you were living it, but it certainly will be a lot of fun talking about it today. Before we get started, though, if you are watching for the first time or the 100th time, please hit that subscribe button. That really helps us out here at Becoming the King of Pots. Please like and share and definitely subscribe. And make sure you tell your friends to subscribe as well. And thanks in advance for that. So, Bruce, you are bringing in loads now from Thailand because it's a higher grade of marijuana. You are able to get more money for it. And things are, heating up for you, pardon the pun, but they're FBI, the IRS, they got their eyes on you, certainly in California. So you do this trip in Seattle. So what's happening in your world and what's happening as the cops are closing in?
Well, as you heard, those people who did hear last episode, we brought a Thai load into up in Seattle because we weren't sure about what's going on at the dock because the FBI was, snooping around. People are starting to roll over. My friend Ned, my partners were rolling over. Charlie Brune, who was laundering my money in Florida, he was starting to roll over. And one of the captains got busted on the high seas, Corky Bill, and he was starting to roll over. So the police were closing in. So
Right.
that
And is that how most people go down, is by just people telling on other people?
absolutely, that's, I would say, 99% of how people go down.
Wow.
You know,
Just to save themselves and to, get themselves out of jail to go to the next guy up, right?
yeah, yeah. So the Thai load in Seattle was the last load that I did as a free person. So that one, great. Everything went back. Most of the pot went to Ann Arbor, Michigan. For my partner's Fred Ned, Mark the Shark took my percentage down to California. And now we have a boat on the way down to Columbia to get the next 30,000 pounds. I don't remember which boat. I think it was the Robin Ann again, on the next, doing this second trip. So I'm just not sure which boat it was, but let's call it the Robin Ann because that's sort of what I remember. It's on its way down. I'm getting back into my spiritual practices, which specifically was Kundalini Yoga. And I was going to it was a weekend course called White Tantric Yoga, and men and women lined up together with Yogi Bhajan, and they would do these kriyas. You'd hold your hand up and you'd chant and do all kinds of stuff. It was very, very good. And my partner in the Thai
were you
loads,
wearing all white, or is white yoga a certain thing?
both. White Tantric Yoga is a spiritual yoga as opposed to red Tantric, which is the sexual yoga. All right, this is not that. This is white Tantric, and you wear all white. White cotton, because if you wear white cotton, according to Yoga Budget, it expands your aura, I forget, 60 feet, 30 feet. All right, so white cotton is very healthy. Not cutting your beard is very healthy. So they all have beards and long hair. Which I had at the time, still have long hair, but I had a beard, scruffy looking beard. Right. So, and I'm going to all these yoga courses, and because it was told to me that a weekend white tantra courses were 10 years of meditation. All right, so I went to 15 of them. That's 150 years of meditation. Okay, and on the way to the 16th one, which was being held in Detroit, I was on a plane, and the plane stopped at Chicago, and then, it was gonna everyone gets off the plane. 'Cause, it was just it was gonna continue on to Detroit next, and I figured, It's only an hour layover, I'm just gonna sit here in the plane." So I'm sitting in the plane reading something, reading one of my yoga books, and, and a couple gentlemen walk on the plane and say, "Are you Bruce Perlowin?" I say, "Yeah." She goes, "Well, we have a warrant for your arrest, this FBI, IRS, and we have to cuff you and take you off the plane." So they cuff me on front, not in the back, and they put a sweater over. She said, "Well, let me put your sweater over your handcuffs so that nobody sees that, making a scandal or anything or a scene," and walked me off the plane. And on the way out, or I guess when we got in the car outside the airport, they go, "We've made arrests Charlie Brune and Jack DuBard and, one in Mississippi, one in, Sarasota, Florida. We read Ted Corey in Las Vegas. We arrested, they didn't say Fred and Ned, just my group, um, a couple other people, Harry Foster maybe, and, would you like to cooperate?" And I said, "No." I go on advice of counsel. I've been said, I do I have I was very polite about it. On advice of counsel, I've been advised not to talk to you without counsel present. So they know that I was lawyered up, 1, and 2, I wasn't gonna talk. Alright.
Right, right. So wait. Let me back up a little bit. So you're on the plane. What are you feeling right now where these suited guys put you in handcuffs at that point? And then how does that change when they say, "Hey, we've arrested all these guys"? I mean, as all of that is sinking into your brain, what are you thinking?
Well, keep in mind, I've been going to doing intense yoga,
Yeah.
for a good 6 months prior to this. It was nothing. Big deal. Okay,
Mm,
here's the next thing that's happening. When things were going really, really good in my smuggling organization, everything's smooth as can be, the boats are all on time, the pot's there, the money's flowing. I would worry. I go, "When's the hammer gonna fall?" Because the hammer
mm,
always falls, either
right.
to a little degree or a big degree. So this is just the hammer falling again. No big deal. What do you do in this circumstance? Okay. You go to prison and you start fighting your case from the day you don't bond out. Like, you don't wanna bail out that day because then the government or the prosecutor and the jury eventually says, "This is a big, rich, giant drug kingpin, and he bailed out the day he got in." No, you stay in jail, you do a bond reduction hearing, and you try to and that's when you actually start fighting your case from day one. So,
Got it.
advice to all
So
you
you don't go
criminals
directly
out
to
there.
prison, right? You just go to local jail at first, right?
Right. I was federal, so I was housed in the federal facility in Chicago, which was MCC Chicago, Metropolitan
Got it.
Correctional Center, Chicago. Nice place, clean, uh, just federal prisoners there. And back then, federal prisoners were mostly white collar workers, you know, uh, no real thugs, no murderers, no burglars,
Right.
no
It's like
crackheads.
hijackers and fraud folks, right?
Yeah, I mean, a hijacker would have been there, but there wasn't that
Yeah.
many at
Right.
that
I mean,
time.
there's like exactly. I mean, but it was a thing, but like guys writing bad checks and things like that, right?
Yeah, mostly white collar crime. So, you didn't feel intimidated. You didn't feel, you know, um, there was no p- uh, predatory, you know, uh, people there. I mean, I'm as good a predator as anyone. Okay. So
Sure,
that,
sure.
predators go after prey. I was not a prey. Right.
Right, right.
Uh,
You were alpha male prime.
exactly. There you go.
There you go.
I,
All right, so you end up in the Chicago Detention Center, and tell us what happens first and what happens next.
All right, the first thing you do is you call your attorney. All right, so I call Alan Silber in New York. He was my attorney in the Miami case, and he was my general attorney. And wherever I was, like if I was in Miami, he would get local counsel. So that was Magazine in Bloomingdale, and Ellen Leesfield worked for, I guess, that firm. And those are the people down there. In Chicago, I forget who he hired, but he hired a local guy. Alan was one of the founding members of Normal. So all these lawyers are connected to each other. Right, and he's really got the best lawyers out there at the time that money could buy. So, um, including Allen himself. So he gets to be a
Yes, and
local attorney.
NORML, for those of you who don't know, NORML is the National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws, and it's been around since, yeah, the early '70s.
And so I call him, and I forgot who he got me. He got me a local counsel, and now we start the bond hearing. All right. And so they go, they want to give you it was $1 million bond. So I start scrambling together. Now remember, I got a boat on the water heading down to Columbia. So I'm not financially, I'm not sweating too much because I know there's another $9 million, not my profit, but $9 million in net coming in or gross coming in. A lot of it, my profit. And I got plenty of money from the smuggling prior to that. And so I could make $1 million bond. It's just, how do you do it? Right. And do you do it, or do you start a bond hearing? All right. So we start getting together the properties. How you do $1 million bond? You get $1 million of equity from people's houses, your parents, your friends, your partners. You don't put $1 million up, although you could. And then you give a bondsman 10% of that, 100,000. And if you skip bail, the bondsman gets the government gets the $1 million from the bondsman, and he gets it from your property. That's the way that works. All right. So
Yes.
we're starting to put this together, and the government gets wind of it. You know, and we're at the same time we're trying to do a bail reduction hearing, and so we do. Oh, at the bail reduction hearing, they raised it. They didn't reduce it like
Oh,
we hoped. The
right,
prosecutor says, "Oh yeah, this guy's a flight risk. He's got things all over the country. I'm all over the world. Bank accounts. He's a danger to the community and a flight risk are the two reasons to keep a high bail,
right,
right?
right.
And the likelihood of fleeing." So they threw all that at him. They raised it to $5 million. That's it. There's no way I'm getting out of jail. It ain't happening. I'm in jail for good until the duration of this. So that sinks in. Okay, no big deal. What do we do next? You just follow a protocol. Um, when when for anything, protocol when the boat breaks down, protocol when the boat starts to sink, a protocol when you get
Sure.
arrested,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you follow the protocol. All right. So now they're going to ship me down to Tampa, Florida. All right. Um,
Why Tampa?
Laundering money case, or what they call racketeering, which is RICO, RICO for racketeering. It was out of Tampa. Because Charlie Brune, who was laundering my money and rolled over, lived in Sarasota. The closest federal courthouse was Tampa, Florida. So now they fly me down to the county jail in Tampa, Florida, to face those charges. Meanwhile,
Right.
they're
No,
still
no, wait, stop for a second. So are those the only charges you have, or are those just the first charges that you're hit with?
that's the first set of charges. Meanwhile, out in California, they're putting together their case for continuing criminal enterprise, the kingpin
Got it.
statute, which is 848. So, and that's 10-year to life, 10-year minimum to life with no parole. All right. So,
Wow.
and I don't know why they say no parole. Oh, yeah, there is. No, you do. You got parole. Oh, no, you got good time. That's what it was. All right. So, anyways, um, so I fly down to Tampa. Now I'm in county jail in Tampa. All right. Now, county jail is a rough place. I would say 80% of the people are gangbanging guys, mostly from the black community, some Hispanics. I think maybe one or two other white guys. And, and there's bullying going on and all kinds of crap. Nobody messed with me because I would sit on the top bunk, my legs crossed, and chant, "Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheju, Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheju, Waheguru, Waheguru, Waheju," 8 times on the exhale. And the black people, I didn't know this. First of all, they respected me because they had a big box full of my case and newspaper articles about me. Go, wow, he's the king of pot. He's a smuggler. This guy's cool. But the others, that's why I thought nobody bothered me, because that was my general experience starting in MCC Chicago and in the jail previously in Ukiah, California. If they know you're a big criminal, especially a marijuana smuggler, they love you and adore you, and you're the celebrity. But they didn't know what this chanting stuff was, this long beard, this long hair, and they say, "Don't mess with that guy. We don't know who he is. We don't know what he is, but don't mess with him because he's going to voodoo you." So so they stayed
And
away
you
from
probably
me
would have too, right?
yeah. So so anyway, so I didn't have a bad time. And then years later when I got out, all right, so now the trial's going on and people are talking, "You're gonna plead guilty, you're gonna roll over," all that's going on, okay, and we'll touch that in a second. Well, no,
Wait,
the
so
answer
how long are you in jail before you have to go to trial and,
that
what
whole process was about 9 months in county jail in
got it.
Tampa. Alright,
Okay.
so, I don't even know if they have what's called a superseding indictment. They rush together indictment just to grab you, you know,
Right.
and then they have a superseding indictment with all the stuff you had. And they had all this stuff, this smuggle, that smuggle, smuggling for this, and they say, "Okay, we're gonna drop all these charges except for the racketeering." I go, "No, why would they drop the charges? It doesn't matter. They're all gonna run consecutive, no, concurrent, all right, not one after the other. They were all run at the same time.
Right, right,
I didn't
concurrent,
care.
right.
Leave them all there,
Sure.
but they ended up just following their protocol, which is to drop all the
Right.
charges except for the RICO and the IRS tax evasion and something else. So it might be one of the smugglers instead of 15 smuggles. Um,
And they
so
got all the information from all the folks who rolled over on you.
yeah,
Right.
that's why you have a superseding indictment because now all the California information is coming, and that's enough information to put into an indictment. I
Got it.
and I'm looking at my chance. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to uh, beat the charge. I had 125 people that were going to testify against me. From my partners, the
Wow.
guys that rolled over who laundered my money,
Wow.
to all the captains and crew. You know, um,
So you
and
find out this by your lawyer is just sort of getting the ins and outs of what kinda
yeah,
case
the
they have?
lawyer, you have what's called discovery material. So you're allowed
Yeah.
to see the case that they have against you. And in that is the depositions of people who actually the grand jury is no longer a secret grand jury. They have to give you the testimony of what people said in the grand jury and what people said, that when they were interviewed by the FBI or the DEA, the 305s are the one of them, and 307s are the notes and that they had, and or the transcript of if they taped the people, or if there's any phone taps, you get copies of the transcripts of the phone taps. Alright, so we're reviewing all that and going all over that and doing discovery, and then you do more discovery, and you do more discovery. So and then Bruce, you gonna plead you wanna roll over? No, there's no way. Yeah, that they're always trying to pressure you to roll over, and you're always trying to, at least in my case, let them know there's no need to try and pressure because it ain't happening,
Right, let me ask you
whatever
something though. Let me ask you something. You were rolled over on, right? Because you're the big kingpin. Who would you who would you roll over on at this point?
the Colombians, all the people that sold the pot, and probably there's about 125 people that got away because I did not roll over. They
Right.
didn't know a
Right.
lot of people. None of the sales force got busted. None of them.
Right, but they don't want your lower the guys below you, do they?
They do, and they want the
Oh,
guys above you, you know?
yeah.
So there was the group of Colombians who I was good long-term friends with. I'm not gonna roll over on them.
And what happens when you roll over on a Colombian group?
Well, so with my group, there would have been nothing. That we were nonviolent. Other groups, they go and kill you and your family.
Ah,
You know, that
right. Oh, is that all? Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So but in my case, we were, again, nonviolent, peaceful group, and, I was in no jeopardy of my life or my family's life if I rolled over. So that wasn't going to happen, but all that's being played out, and when I got out of prison, Ted Corey came and looked me up, and we started working together because he was another guy that did not roll over, and he said, "Bruce, I remember you were sitting on the floor, and I walked up to you and said, 'What are you doing?' And you said" you were calculating something, writing on a piece of paper, and you looked up to me and you said, "Ted, I don't think I have enough time to do what I wanna do." And he goes, "What?" He goes, "You want some of my time?" I said, "Can we do that?" And we literally asked our lawyers and the prosecutor, "Can I take some of Ted Corey's time?" Alright? And,
What did you need to do that you didn't have time enough to do? What are you
I wanted to get
scribbling out?
I want to get 3 PhDs. So I was doing the math, okay, you gotta do 4 years in college because they were taking college courses in prison at that time. Right?
Mm,
4 years, then you need 2 years for a master's, so that's 6, right? And then each of the PhDs, I could probably overlap them. I don't need 2, 2, and 2, maybe I could do, you know, 3 and get 2 PhDs and 4 and get 3 PhDs. So I'm calculating all this out, and I just was a little bit shy. And, you know, I mean, I was not that well educated. I mean, I was smart and, talented and organized, but I wasn't book smart. I didn't know who
right.
came first, the Romans or the the Greeks or the Romans. I didn't know history. There's a ton of stuff and a million books I've wanted to read, and I never had time to because I'm always, uh, you know, working fanatic. And,
Yeah.
so now I don't have
Entrepreneuring.
to do that. I can read to my heart's content, and I can go and take all these courses. So that was in county jail. So county jail in Tampa.
So it was almost like a relief, right? Was it like a sense of relief, like, "Ah, I could just fucking relax for a minute?"
No, well, the sense of relief kicks in slowly, and it is a sense of
Mm,
relief. You don't know how much pressure and how much stress you're under until you're not under it anymore, and
right,
it's all
right,
gone. And that dawned on me little by little.
right.
It was a sense of, this is my next part of my journey. Remember, I have a very spiritual outlook on life. And I like to be the witness. I like to watch my life. So you watch, you go, oh, that's interesting. Look, now he's in prison. Oh, that's interesting. Now he's in love with the Russian spy. You know, so and I learned that through yoga, reading yoga books, be the witness to your life. So now I'm in an environment where I can learn, grow, and study. I immediately saw it. Learn, grow, and study. I remember in that county jail, I would read books. It was great. I would read 1 book at a time, then I would read 2 books at a time, then I would read 3 books at a time, then 4 at a time. I went all the way up to reading 14 books at a time, and what that means is I'd read 50 pages from this book, then 50 pages of this book, 50 pages of this book, and it was really actually quite fascinating because sometimes I found out that 3 or 4 were, like, the best thing, to do. It was the easiest, and for some reason, it was the best. But there would be a story from book 1 and book 3 and book 6 that would merge together or somehow connect or relate to each other. It was,
Oh, that's interesting.
it was
Just from
fascinating.
completely different books, completely different authors.
Yeah. There was a common thread that would start weaving, and that happened when you read between 3 and 4 books at a time. I and that could be called synchronicity, which is something that most people have experienced, but experience it in reading a book is fascinating. And it didn't matter what
Yeah.
kind of book. I mean, any kind of book you're getting an education. You can read fiction, science fiction. I wrote Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, history books. Any book, let's say a fiction book, you'd think, well, what's good is fiction or a horror book? You're talking about human personalities and human people and their reaction and actions in the book as a character. So you're learning about life, no
Sure,
matter what you
sure,
read.
and it you gotta create that image in your brain, right? And, it's, all a creative process. Yeah, reading is great.
Yeah. So in Tampa, they took me out of Tampa. I don't know if it was before I pled guilty or after I pled guilty, and flew me to San Francisco to face charges there. And that's when they
Well, let's
hammered me
talk
to.
about the pleading guilty part. That was just the plan all along, plead guilty, do the time?
No, it wasn't the plan all the time, all along. It emerged as the most optimal way to go because if you go to trial and you
Because
get
you
found guilty,
Right,
you're looking
right.
at
So
50
you were
years.
looking at all the evidence, and you were doing all that discovery, and you were like, "Holy shit, they really got me?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There's no way I could defend it against 125 people. You know,
right,
my word against all you guys.
right.
My as they say, my goose was cooked. And
Ah, so you make that realization, and, is that at that point, are you like, "Ah, fuck, I gotta spend some time here," or does that sense of relief sorta kick in at that point?
no, the sense of, "This is amazing. This is like the unprecedented opportunity in a lifetime to learn, grow, and study. I
Okay.
saw that
Right.
from
No, that's
day
what
one.
you keep saying. I know. I'm just trying to feel, that the sense of those bars closing behind you, right? For the first time or for the fifth time or for the final time, right? And thinking, having that mindset, great, time to learn, right?
Yeah.
It's just a strange sort of outlook from, what we see in movies and what we know from, whoever we know that have been to prison.
It wasn't that way for me. So then you say, "Okay, where do I work out? Where do you do push-ups? You do you do triceps on the bench, you know, uh, you do pull-ups if there's a bar up there, and you get to go out in the yard and work out an hour a day." So it really was for physical fitness, it was great. For a steady routine, wake up the same time, eat the same time, get counted the same time, make sure you're all still there, and
Sure.
you get into a rhythm. And the rhythm is very, very healthy, and you're not doing any drugs. I'm not doing any more Quaaludes. Well, I had to quit that because of the yoga, but you're not eating junk food. The food was okay. It wasn't the best, and it wasn't the worst until I got to finally to Pleasanton. It was or Texarkana. Back in those days, it was unbelievable, the food, healthy and good. I don't know
Oh,
about today.
nice. Right.
So they fly me out to San Francisco. I plead guilty there. Out in San Francisco is a bit of a bitch because I was going in front of hanging Judge Conti. So Judge Conti was a friggin' lunatic, nutcase,
Really?
okay? And when I say
And what
nutcase,
qualified him as a
gave
lunatic?
everyone the maximum sentence, and he was on drugs. Now he called them
Right.
pharmaceutical drugs, right? For whatever psychological condition or depression or anxiety or sleep disorder he had, he was on serious pharmaceutical drugs. And Uh, the deal I cut then, no cooperation. Like we said in an earlier podcast, give Becky, Mickey, Craig immunity, give Donnie 1 charge instead of 4 charges, and you can have all my assets. I won't fight for the assets. I could have literally walked out of prison the next day, kept my house in Ukiah, kept a bunch of assets, and told on everyone. And the famous line I say is Becky said to me, "Bruce, you're gonna go to jail and your son's gonna grow up without you." And I said, "That doesn't give me the right to have 125 sons grow up or daughters grow up without their fathers or mothers," because there was women involved too. So, um, so that was my position. I'm gonna do my time. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, "Wow, like, how many books can I read? How many courses can I take?" What can you
Right.
I was an undefeated weightlifting champion growing up in Florida, took 3rd to teenage nationals, captain gymnastics team. Well, can I beat my own weightlifting records? Man, I could work out, to my heart's content. I don't have to worry about the boats and the money and the laundry and all and the businesses. I can just work out, read, study. Unprecedented opportunity of a lifetime to learn, grow, and study. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
So there
running
is
the
a bit
back of
of
my head.
relief then. There is a little relief of no boats, no money, no anything, no
Oh, yeah,
pressures.
and that's just there. For me, the relief was just there. It wasn't an overwhelming consideration, like, I didn't say to myself, "Wow, you have no stress anymore." It was just that was the way it was. There was no stress anymore. The focus
Right.
wasn't
Well,
no
you would
stress
think that
anymore.
prison yeah, you would think that, being in jail or prison, gives you a whole new level of stress.
Not to me because you have to worry being in jail, you worry about everyone was okay. Becky was okay. She had, boyfriends and plenty of money to at least not millions, but she had enough money that she wasn't gonna go to the poorhouse, and remember, the boat was on the way still. Now what I did when I was in Chicago, before I got to Tampa, I told my lawyers to tell Craig somehow, whatever coded message it was, "Turn that boat around." They may know what the name of the boat, they may know about the dock, we don't know what they know and what they don't know at that juncture. Turn the boat around and come back and get another boat, I said, and
Come back
take it.
empty. Right, come back
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was about halfway down, and they did, they turned it away, and so, you're still working, you know, I mean, I'm still working, I'm still telling Craig's wife, my sister-in-law, I get on the phone, I go, "Tony, you got a pen?" She goes, "Yeah," and she would write letters to other people in prison because I couldn't write a prisoner can't write another prisoner, but I could dictate a letter to her, and she could mail it out to the other prisoner. So I'm still, figuring out what to do with the boat, with the tie loads. Al's covering the tie loads. I don't need to worry about that. They've got that covered. Craig and Donnie are covering the Colombian load. They turned the boat around. That's fine. Got to make sure, button up all these things. Make sure that, what about the money? How many bank accounts they know about or don't know about? So you're
Right.
going through all of that. Now out in San Francisco, we agreed that I would get 10 years to the CCE, continuing criminal enterprise, the kingpin statute, and get the minimum, 10 to life. So we got 10 with no parole. And we go in front of Judge Conti, and they says, we say, we want this plea. The prosecutor agrees, the FBI agrees, the DEA agrees, and I agree. He friggin' goes nutso on us. Not on me,
Wow.
but on the prosecutor for some reason. Goes wacko. And so we go, whoa, what's going on here? And he does not accept the plea. So we adjourned. They said, court adjourned. And so now my prosecutor is talking to my lawyer, and they're on the same side. And what ended up happening, Judge Conti ended up apologizing to the prosecutor, who tells my lawyer he apologized. He said he was on some medication and he had an adverse reaction. The guy was a nutcase. You look at these people like, the judges like that, and you think, oh, they're except for our cousin David, your brother. He was a perfect judge.
He was a perfect judge. Yeah, he's not a drug guy
Yeah, he
at
wasn't
all.
on he wasn't on medication and going
No,
after, criminals and giving them the maximum sentence, right?
no.
So that so we got the plea we wanted, the 10 years, and meanwhile, I'm giving up my assets, give them a list of the assets. They literally took me out of jail and drove down to Redwood City to show them the hatch covers that I owned.
Yeah, let's talk about all the assets. Yeah, let's talk about what it is that you had to give up.
Well, starting with is the $3 million home in Ukiah. I don't know, it's $3 million. I spent $3 million. It's probably worth more fixing it up and building it. That
Yeah.
gave up. The airplane was given up. The hatch covers, all the boats, all the barges I had, the 1,000-foot concrete pier, the dock.
And
I'm not sure.
how many boats at that point, do you have?
Adding in the barges, probably. Well, I own 97. I added them all up, but I was in that 97. You take off 6 for the Zodiacs. They weren't boats, but they were 19-foot Zodiacs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
16-foot Zodiacs. So 97, probably about 80 boats. Most of
That's a
them
lot.
65-foot albacore steel boats. Some of them, there was that 47-foot yacht. And what else did they? Oh, the bank accounts. Got $16 million in bank accounts that Charlie Brune showed them where they were in
Yeah.
Liechtenstein and Luxembourg, in the Cayman
Bastard.
Islands, in
Frickin'
Panama,
Charlie.
Bahamas,
Ah.
uh, U.S. They did
Do
confiscate
you have
a
anything
quarter.
buried? Do you have anything hidden in a secret vault or buried somewhere?
Oh yeah, yeah. We had $100,000 buried across the creek in a PVC pipe. That went to Becky. We had $250,000 worth of silver coins, 2 batches of $250,000. There were $13,000 bags. Okay. So the $1,000, or maybe it was 13,000, I paid for them. Anyways, $250,000 that they found at the Ukiah house. And the IRS gave me what's known as a termination assessment. They terminated my tax year and said, we're going to take this. We actually fought the IRS and actually won that case. But we did have to pay them $170,000 in taxes. And so they gave me like 3 bags of silver back from that batch. And then there's another $250,000 batch down in Berkeley that they did not get. So we had that buried. So Becky got all that, or maybe I spent some of that to pay for the lawyers. I'm not sure, but it
Right.
wasn't confiscated. What else was confiscated? Let's see. The RV, I believe, was confiscated. I'm not sure about the RV with all the electronic equipment in it.
I don't know. The 16 million in cash seems to be the biggest hit.
Yeah, that was the biggest hit. Yeah.
Wow.
So
So now
and it
you're
could have been
broke.
more. It
Now
could
you
have been
have no
18.
money.
What?
Right. Now you have no money, but you have no need for money, right?
No, commissary. Alright, so now I go to I go from, for some reason, I went back to, Tampa to I guess, to finish up, I'm not sure, but I went back to Tampa, and from Tampa, I was designated to Texarkana, alright? And, Texarkana, you when you go that's a medium security. Now, I was pretty, amazed that when you're walking down the hall and you bump into someone, you know, oh, excuse me," because the last thing anybody wants to do in a medium security is get in a fight. Because if you get in a fight, they transfer you to a maximum security, where now you're in danger for your life because that's where all the guys who are in there for life or murder, and they're not getting out, and they'll kill you and slice your throat because there's no extra time for them. They're gonna be there
Right.
for the rest of their lives.
Right.
Um, so everyone wants to stay cool, and there you really start getting in shape. So I started doing a couple things, a couple funny things. One, I would write to all the health food book manufacturers, yoga book manufacturers or publishers, and say, "Look, we're in federal prison. Can you donate some books on yoga or health?" And I set up this whole library on physical fitness, mostly yoga and mostly nutrition. And then we had a club called HT Striders. I don't know what HT stood for. And you could check out a book. We actually had a little bookshelf out by the rec area. The rec people, the guards, whoever in charge of that, said, "Yeah, it's fine." And you could check out a book on health or nutrition or weightlifting. And that's when I discovered how old can you be to get in shape, to really top physical shape. And there's a 60-year-old guy there, and this guy was solid muscle, not 1 inch of body fat on him, and he started at the age of 60. So I said, "Okay, you can go up to 60," 'cause now I'm not anywhere near 60 at this point. I'm like 30, 31, 32. And, so I figured, "Great, I'm not too old, I can beat all my old weightlifting records." So you're working the weight pile, you're going to classes, and I meet a guy named Steve Kalish. What happens, you galvanize towards like-minded people, you know, the if there's any gangs, the gangs hang out together, the blacks hang out with the blacks, the Aryan Brotherhood hangs out with the Aryan Brotherhood, although I didn't see a lot of that. The mafia guys hang out with the mafia guys. The white middle-class smuggling guys hang out together, you know, and Steve Kadish was one of those guys. Steve was at the time, he had just came into Texarkana. He was probably the largest marijuana smuggler in U.S. history. It's between him and Don Steinberg. I'm gonna add up the loads. He just published his book, The Gentleman Smuggler, the largest marijuana smuggler in U.S. history, and I'm gonna read it and add it all up. Randy Lanier's book, he tells you how many loads he brought in, um, but he did bring in 335,000 pounds on a barge in one load. He brought in like
Wow.
125,000 pounds on barges.
Yeah.
Steve brought in 333, and we became good friends, alright? And I did HT Striders, I taught Kundalini yoga there and got into good shape. And then the funny thing that happened there, you go through the line and you would take they had, sugar, a big thing of sugar, and I had just got done reading a book called Sugar Blues that was in the library, um, and, so I put a poison sign in front of Sugar Blues, his skull and crossbone, and said, "Poison." 'Cause these guys are coming with a friggin' cup. They literally take a coffee cup full of sugar and put it on their tray, and they put I don't know what they did with it, put it on their sweet potatoes or whatever, or put it in their coffee, and it's poison. So they throw me in the hole. And they come to me, I don't know who it was that came to me, the captain, he says, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Because it's poison. Read the book Sugar Blues." So they didn't know what it was all about. They thought maybe I was poisoning the inmates, and if you take that, there's strychnine in there.
Oh, right, right, right.
Yeah, so they said, "You can't do that." You know? And I go, "Okay." Um, when I was there, some guy tried and escaped. That was interesting. He didn't get very far. Just got outside, and, they caught him out in the yard. And
And what
then
was day to day like in the Texarkana prison? Just
it
working
was
out and reading and, just, kinda getting your shit together?
Yeah, I mean, there you went to work, and I forgot what my job was. You had to work 90 days in the kitchen because nobody really wanted to work in the kitchen. So the rule was you had to work 3 months there. So I worked in the kitchen, put the poison sign up, and and, uh, and I mostly remember working out in the field, just a lot of working out. There wasn't that many I think there's there were some courses, but not college courses.
Mhm.
Some kind of courses. Did I teach GED? No, I taught GED at Pleasanton. So maybe I did teach GED there. Yeah, I taught algebra to the inmates to help them get their GED.
Right. Nice.
And then I find out that there's a prison with women in it, co-ed prison called there's here's the history of co-ed prisons in America. There was 4 of them. A new head of the Bureau of Prisons was appointed, and he said, "I'm gonna experiment with co-ed prisons." So they created 4 co-ed prisons. Then after they changed administration, the next head of the Bureau of Prisons says, I don't like co-ed prisons because 3 pregnancies happened." You know? Well, guess what? In all women's prison, 4 to 7 pregnancies happen. You know, it's not the male inmates sleeping with the female inmates, it's the guards, you know? But it didn't matter. He didn't look at that statistic. He just said, "I'm getting rid of them all." So they closed there was one in Dallas. I forget what the the 3rd and 4th one were, but there was 2 left, Pleasanton and Lexington. So I go, "Wow, I'm going to Pleasanton." So the rule is that they wanna house you near your home. They wanna house you based on your security level. So I was medium security. Becky lived in Berkeley at the time, so my family when they say home, I mean near your family so they can get visitation and you still remain a part of society. So she lived in Berkeley, and they don't wanna put you in where other people who were in your case who had testified against you are housed. So the only place I could get housed other than Texarkana was Pleasanton because there was nobody in there that testified against me. Most of my guys got probation and parole or went to camp.
Right.
And, um, and Becky, my family, lived in Berkeley, and that was right outside of Berkeley. So I
Right.
got, transferred to Pleasanton.
All
I
right.
immediately
We're gonna talk about Pleasanton on the next episode, right? As we delve into your prison life, as the king of pot. Anything else to add about Texarkana before we
Yeah, one last thing. So I'm in Pleasanton. I call Tony. Tony got pen. Yeah, write a letter to Steve Kalish. Okay,
you mean
Steve.
you're in Texarkana?
No, I'm in Pleasanton when I do this. Steve's back in
Oh, gotcha.
Texarkana. Alright? I mean, we really became good friends. We were like-minded. We were both big smugglers. He was, a lot bigger than me, but, the educational level, the working out, and all that stuff were very common. Tony, write him a letter. "Steve, you gotta get here. There's women. I'm walking around holding hands with my girlfriend. There's just 2/3 women. Get here. There's great college courses. This is awesome." So Steve did transfer. He had a lot of money and a lot of powerful lawyers, so he got himself to Pleasant. Now we're both in Pleasanton. So with that, we can end this episode and start talking about
Yeah.
what happens when the king of pot goes to a co-ed prison
A
with spies,
co-ed
assassins, terrorists, hijackers, jewel
prison.
thieves, bank robbers, and that's just the females.
That's right. That's right. Well, once again, a lot of fun, Bruce, for hearing all of these great stories. Make sure you join us next time as we delve into Bruce's experience in one of only 2 co-ed prisons in the entire country. And this one, of course, in Pleasanton, California. His name is Bruce Perlowin. He is the king of pot. My name's Todd Dankin, and I'm not. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.